Welcome back, everyone. Let's jump right into today's explainer. We're diving into some truly fascinating research today, and it touches on something that is frankly deeply personal and universally understood. We are talking about money. Or actually, scratch that. We're talking about the profound anxiety that hits when there just isn't enough of it. We're going to unpack how people are navigating acute financial hardship right now, and interestingly, where they're turning for help when the usual modern safety nets totally fail. We're looking directly at how current economic strain is literally driving people to seek out foundational biblical guidance. It's a hugely compelling look at the intersection of modern stress and ancient wisdom. So let's get right into it and see what this research uncovered. Section 1. The Universal Struggle. A Shared Reality. Okay, let's dive into this. I have money problems and I don't know what to do. I want to just pause for a second and really let that heavy, visceral quote sink in. It's such a short sentence, but the sheer emotional weight it carries, it's massive. Notice the second half of that quote, and I don't know what to do. This isn't just about needing to tweak a monthly budget or canceling a streaming subscription or skipping a summer vacation. No, this represents a profound sense of helplessness. It's like a total loss of direction. When you hit a point where the math fundamentally does not work, it creates this unique type of cognitive paralysis. You aren't just out of money. You are completely out of options. That quote perfectly encapsulates the desperate, exhausted reality that so many people are operating from in these discussions. They are literally at the end of their rope, looking out at a complex economic landscape and realizing that the standard modern playbook, it's just not working for them anymore. Section 2. Analyzing current frustrations. The core issue. When we zoom out from those individual, heartbreaking quotes, we start to see the macro-level themes forming the core issue across all these conversations. And the research makes it absolutely clear financial pressure is one of the biggest current frustrations in the discussions found. I really want to emphasize the encompassing nature of this point. That quote we just looked at, it wasn't an isolated complaint, and it wasn't just an outlier from someone having a particularly bad day. This immense financial pressure is identified as a primary, dominating frustration across the board. It is this inescapable cloud hanging over contemporary discussions. And when we talk about financial pressure at this scale, we are talking about something that bleeds into every single aspect of life. It impacts mental health, it totally strains relationships, it alters long-term life plans, and it shifts how people view their own security in the world. When this type of pressure becomes chronic rather than temporary, people are absolutely forced to fundamentally rethink where they draw their strength and their strategy from. Section 3. Seeking Ancient Guidance. Looking for answers. And this brilliantly illustrates the dynamic we're talking about. So when people are faced with this overwhelming, paralyzing financial pressure, where are they actually turning for help? When the modern solutions seem completely out of reach, or the math simply isn't mathing no matter how hard you try, we see a truly fascinating shift emerge. To cope with immense modern pressures, things like unprecedented inflation, complex job insecurity, and a soaring cost of living, people aren't just looking for modern financial life hacks or a new app to manage their spending. They are reaching for a foundational resource: biblical guidance. It is a completely striking juxtaposition when you really think about it. You've got individuals experiencing highly complex, very 21st century economic anxieties, and they are turning toward texts, teachings, and principles that are thousands of years old. Why does this happen? Well, the research suggests that when the modern ground is constantly shifting, people look for bedrock. They're looking for practical wisdom, stability, and a sense of comfort that totally transcends the current news cycle or the latest economic downturn. It's a search for immutable truth in a highly volatile financial landscape. Section 4. Resources for the overwhelmed. Where people turn. So what does this actually look like in practice? We know the problem, and we know the general category of the solution they are seeking, but the actual media artifacts people are consuming reveal two very different worlds colliding. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how on one hand, we see engagement with specific faith-based video content. The exact title found in the research is, When You Don't Have Enough, What Does the Bible Say? This piece of media directly, explicitly answers the agonizing cry for help we saw in our very first quote. It tackles the practical and spiritual reality of scarcity head-on. But sitting right alongside that, the research notes mentions of major mainstream secular publications, specifically highlighting The Guardian. This intersection is incredibly profound. It shows us that these discussions are absolutely not happening in a vacuum or siloed away in one corner of the internet. They are playing out across mainstream global news outlets, where people are trying to understand the macroeconomics of their struggle, while simultaneously those same people are being driven to specific faith-based content to internally process their reality. It's a dual coping mechanism, seeking intellectual understanding of the global economy on one side and deep, foundational spiritual grounding on the other.
We'll wrap up our explainer today with this single, powerful question that serves as the ultimate takeaway from this research. When you don't have enough, where do you look for answers? We've seen throughout this analysis how deeply financial pressure is affecting people today, frequently reducing them to a state of profound exhaustion, completely unsure of what to do next. And we've seen that in the face of this very modern scarcity, a significant number of people are looking backward to foundational biblical resources, reading them right alongside their daily secular news to find a path forward. It leaves us with something incredibly important to reflect on regarding our own lives and our own systems of support. When the pressure inevitably mounts and your resources, whether financial, emotional, or physical, become desperately scarce, what is your foundational resource? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. I hope it provided you with a clear, structured, and insightful view into this deeply human struggle and the enduring search for wisdom in the midst of it.